You'd think having $9.7 million in your name would feel like a victory. For me, it felt like a betrayal, just not mine. The betrayal came from the people who were supposed to love me the most. My family found out on Thanksgiving, and what happened next ripped every illusion I had about them into shreds. My name's Danielle, 37, and if you asked anyone in my family 5 years ago what I did for a living, you'd probably get some vague answer like, something with antiques, or, she works at a little shop downtown. I let them believe that, because the truth was easier to hide than explain. Until the truth exploded during Thanksgiving dinner, right after the dessert, and just before the accusations. Let me take you back. My family always had this unspoken rule. My younger sister, Brielle, was the sun, and the rest of us just revolved around her. I was the mature one, which was code for the one we ignore because she doesn't need anything. That script was written when I was 9 and Brielle arrived 2 months premature, bundled in tubes and wrapped in fear. Suddenly, the world revolved around her asthma, her allergies, her needs. I couldn't even catch a cold without being shipped off to my Aunt Nora's in Westbrook Falls. I used to think it was fun. Aunt Nora baked cookies, let me rearrange her vintage brooches. But by the time I was 12, I understood what was really happening. I wasn't being cared for. I was being quarantined. Like I was a threat. Every time Brielle sniffled, the household would go on lockdown. If I sneezed, I was out the door with a duffel bag. I tried to be excellent, thinking maybe they'd notice. Straight A's, science fairs, talent shows, none of it mattered. If Brielle had a flute recital, the whole clan showed up like it was Carnegie Hall. When I played Simon and Garfunkel on piano, a low-grade fever kept the audience at 0. They'd rewritten history in their heads. Danielle's so independent. She understands Brielle had a tough start. No, I didn't understand. I was a kid. And I had no idea why being healthy made me less worthy of love. By high school, I had stopped trying to get attention and started planning my escape. I worked nights at Miller's Cafe, organized my notes by color, taught myself how to catalog jewelry based on books I found in the local library. It was Aunt Nora who taught me how to spot a real 1920s check glass necklace from a cheap knockoff. That skill, ironically, is what built my future. Nobody asked me about college. I applied to 14 universities alone. When my Harvard acceptance came with a full scholarship, I didn't even tell my parents for a week. I already knew the reaction. But what about Brielle? And sure enough, when I told them over dinner, my mom's response wasn't congratulations. It was, "You're not expecting us to help, right? Brielle's dance showcase is next month and those costumes aren't cheap." The night before I left for college, I had mac and cheese in my room while they took Brielle to Olive Garden to celebrate her joining junior varsity cheer. College was my escape, and I treated it like one. I devoured courses on art history, took part-time jobs, and eventually landed at a prestigious auction firm in Charlotte. I kept my head down, didn't make waves, and studied antique jewelry with the kind of obsession most people reserve for religion or revenge. Then one day I found it, a brooch in a deceased estate collection mislabeled as costume junk. It wasn't. It was an early Lalique, worth tens of thousands. That moment launched my career. Within 6 years, I had launched my own authentication business. Now I run a multi-office, high-net-worth operation serving international collectors. But my family still thought I worked at a dusty antique shop. Until this Thanksgiving. Mom called crying a week before, complaining about back pain and how she couldn't cook for 20 guests. I offered to cater the whole thing, $1 for $300 worth of herb-stuffed turkey, candied yam brulee, maple-glazed Brussels sprouts. They thought it was a couple hundred from the corner market. And then, during dessert, it happened. Brielle wandered into my old room looking for a phone charger and stumbled upon my laptop. I had left it open, mid-authentication process, dozens of tabs displayed. She saw the real-time dashboards. My accounts. My contracts. My current balance. She stormed into the dining room like she'd discovered plutonium. "Everyone," she shouted, "you're not going to believe what Danielle's been hiding." She flipped the laptop around. And there it was, my $9.7 million net worth. Pending transactions in six figures. A recently completed $850,000 Hong Kong deal. The room fell so silent, I could hear Uncle Rob chewing. Then Mom stood up, face flushed, and shouted, "You have millions? And you let us struggle? No congratulations. No. I'm proud of you." Just shock. Followed by rage. And I wish I could tell you the drama ended there. But it didn't. I stood there at the head of the table, holding my glass of wine, still wearing the soft cashmere sweater my mom once said looked too bargain bin for a holiday meal. Meanwhile, Brielle was staring at my bank statements like they'd personally betrayed her. Her voice cracked. "You're rich? You've been rich this whole time and you never told us?" I didn't answer right away. I watched the room, the clinking forks now frozen midair, my dad blinking like he couldn't believe it, and Aunt Jo clutching her wine glass like we were in a soap opera. Only Aunt Nora, God bless her, didn't flinch. She just leaned back and waited. My mom was the first to break the silence. "Danielle, how could you? Your sister has student loans. We almost had to sell the house. And you're sitting on millions?" My laugh came out dry. "The same house I've been anonymously sending $6,000 to each month for 3 years. You'd think that would stop them. Instead, it lit the match." "You should have told us," my dad boomed. "We raised you." "No," I said. "You raised Brielle. I raised myself." And that was the moment the gloves came off. Brielle stood up, trembling like she was about to faint. "I was supposed to be the successful one. You always knew I had dreams. How could you watch me struggle when you had this?" She gestured wildly at my laptop. I was done playing it quiet. "Brielle, you've had 3 different careers, all funded by Mom and Dad. You crashed a car, opened a failed Etsy shop, and dropped out of grad school. No one ever said no to you. Meanwhile, I worked through holidays and nights for this." Dad's voice cracked like an old hinge. "You think money makes you better than us?" "No," I said. "But it did get you a catered Thanksgiving you clearly didn't deserve." My mom burst into tears, right on cue. "You've always looked down on us. You think you're too good for your family." I looked her in the eye. "No, I just stopped pretending we were one." And here's the kicker, they didn't deny it. They pivoted. Like clockwork. "Well," Mom sniffed, voice suddenly calculating. "You could at least set up something for the family. A trust fund for Brielle, maybe. You owe us that." That word. "Oh. I owe you?" I asked. "For what? For every time I was shipped off like a contagion because Brielle had a sniffle? For being your free babysitter, your ghost child, your emotional punching bag?" My dad slammed his napkin down. "Don't act like we were monsters." I leaned in. "You weren't monsters. You were cowards. You didn't want to admit you played favorites, so you called it tough love. You let me fade out of the family, so gradually I stopped checking if anyone saw me. And then I did it. Right there, in front of all 20 relatives, I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and canceled the monthly transfer. One swipe. That's all it took." Mom gasped. Brielle's eyes widened. "You can't just stop helping us." "Actually," I said, standing up, "I can. And I will." I grabbed my laptop, tucked it under one arm, picked up my coat, and said the one thing they didn't expect. This was the last Thanksgiving. I walked out to the sound of Aunt Jo asking if she could take home the leftover sweet potato tart. By the time I got home, the group chat was already a war zone. Brielle had posted a furious message. "Can't believe my own sister is a millionaire and let us suffer. Family means nothing to her." Cousins chimed in. Distant relatives I hadn't heard from in years weighed in like armchair psychologists. But I didn't reply. I simply posted a photo of the catered Thanksgiving invoice, $4 $382.56, followed by a single caption. "Paid in full. Just like my patients." My phone buzzed for hours. Messages. Missed calls. Emails. Aunt Nora finally texted. You were always the strong one. I'm glad you're finally done pretending you weren't. I took a long bath that night. Poured myself a glass of champagne, the real kind, and watched the family fall apart in a group chat I no longer cared about. Because the truth? I didn't lose a family that night. I finally accepted I never really had one. 2 days after Thanksgiving, my mom showed up at my office. Uninvited. Unannounced. I don't know what shocked me more, her storming past the front desk like she owned the place, or the fact that she was carrying a folder labeled Family Support Proposal, like this was some twisted pitch meeting. Danielle, she said, setting it on my desk like a legal deposition. We've discussed things as a family and decided it's time we get serious about structure. Structure. Like I was a bank. Or a trust fund. Or a vending machine with no off switch. I didn't open the folder. Just stared at her, waiting for the punchline. Mom folded her hands. Your father and I think it would be reasonable for you to set aside $2 million. For Brielle's future. Her MBA program. A home down payment. Some breathing room. And the rest? I asked. You want that divvied up too? She didn't even blink. You'd still have plenty. You're not exactly starving. That's when I knew they hadn't understood a single thing I said on Thanksgiving. Not one word had registered. The betrayal? The hurt? The years of being dismissed like old wallpaper? Nope. All they saw was a dollar sign wearing my face. I took a deep breath. I'm not giving you $2 million. I'm not giving you 2 cents. And if Brielle wants a future, she can work for it like the rest of us. Her mouth tightened. That's selfish, Danielle. She's family. No, I said. She's a grown woman. I've already given more to this family than anyone else ever will. Before she left, she muttered, I just hope you can live with yourself. I didn't answer. Because here's the thing, I was finally learning to. But the worst part hadn't even arrived yet. 3 weeks later, my inbox pinged. An email from a client, one I'd worked with for years. Subject line. Thought this was you? Attached was a PDF. A pitch deck. Sloppy branding, knockoff fonts, and a tagline stolen word for word from my company website, Precision in the Past, Value in the Present. The founder's name? Brielle. She had launched her own jewelry authentication service. Her LinkedIn now claimed she was an expert in luxury vintage pieces. Her entire experience? Assisting my sister's antique business during early years. I stared at the screen, jaw slack. The woman who once said, Ew, old jewelry smells like mothballs, was now trying to clone my company with canvas slides and a list of made-up credentials. I clicked the website link. It was a disaster. Stock photos. Blog posts clearly written by AI. And get this, her About Us page featured a photo of her wearing one of my archived pieces. She must have stolen the image from an old social media post. Cropped out the watermark, slapped her logo on it. I called my lawyer. Within 24 hours, we had a cease and desist drafted and served. Brielle tried to argue it was a misunderstanding. Then she cried. Then she rage posted. Some people get successful and forget where they came from. She wrote on Facebook. Even family can become greedy when money's involved. That post got 194 likes. But it was the comment underneath that really did me in. Mom, proud of you for standing up for yourself, sweetie. Maybe one day your sister will come around. I reread it 10 times. The same woman who called me selfish for not wiring over millions was now congratulating Brielle for trying to steal my identity. It stopped being sad. It started being absurd. Like a family of raccoons demanding rent for digging through your trash and then acting shocked when you change the locks. I didn't respond. I didn't call. But I did one thing. I changed all my company's passwords. Doubled security protocols. Shut down the internal directory Brielle had briefly accessed when she came to visit my office last spring. And then I did the thing I hadn't done in 20 years. I booked a vacation. 10 days. Iceland. Alone. No itinerary. No emails. Just glaciers, silence, and enough distance to remember who I was before they tried to guilt it out of me. The night before I left, I got one final text from Brielle. You know you didn't build this alone. You learned from us. I laughed. A real laugh this time. Then I powered off my phone and threw it in a drawer. Let them scream into the void. I'd finally found peace, and that was something they couldn't forge, fake, or take. Iceland was everything I needed it to be: cold, vast, silent. I walked between glaciers like I was shedding layers of my past. I didn't check my phone once. I didn't open my email. I didn't even say my last name to the tour guides. I was just Danielle, a woman standing in the middle of nowhere, finally free. Until I got back, and found a letter waiting for me in a plain envelope on my kitchen counter. Aunt Nora had left it. She had a key to water my plants while I was gone. Scribbled on the front in shaky handwriting was, "For Danielle. From Grandma Lillian. Found in the green box." I sat down hard. The green box was Grandma's costume jewelry trunk, the one she always let me organize, the same one Brielle refused to touch because old metal makes her itchy. Apparently, Aunt Nora had been going through Grandma's things after moving her to a smaller assisted living suite. Inside the box, tucked beneath fake emerald clip-ons and broken brooches, was a sealed envelope marked 2004, when I was 16. Inside was a letter. 2 pages. Written in ballpoint pen, folded once. I read it once. Then again. Then I cried. Here's what it said, paraphrased because my hands were shaking too hard to write it all down. My sweet Danielle. If you're reading this, it means I'm gone or nearly there, and someone's finally gone digging through my old junk. I hope it's you. You were always the only one who cared enough to sort the junk. I need to tell you something important, something your mother and father would never say out loud. They always loved Brielle more. Not because she's better. Because she was weaker. And they were scared. Scared of losing her. Scared of her fragility. Scared of the shame if something went wrong. You, on the other hand, scared them for different reasons. You were smart. Too smart. You reminded them of what they didn't become. What they never dared to reach for. And I'm sorry for the role I played in that. Sending you cookies didn't make up for what they failed to give you. Love shouldn't be earned through resilience. I've tucked away something for you. It's not much, but it's yours. Yours alone. You'll find it in the base of the jewelry box, behind the false panel. It's a key to a safety deposit box at Ashton's Savings Bank. I've been saving for you since the day you turned 8. Use it when the world tries to knock you down again. Because I knew even back then, you wouldn't let it keep you there. With all my love, always. Grandma Lillian. I sat there stunned, the green box now open on the floor beside me. I peeled off the velvet liner she mentioned, and sure enough, there it was. A tiny brass key. Taped to the underside like a secret she never wanted the others to find. The next morning, I drove to Ashton Savings. I hadn't stepped foot in that bank since I was a kid tagging along on errands. The manager looked skeptical but typed the number on the key into his computer, then blinked. "One moment," he said. "You'll want privacy." Inside the vault, I opened the box and found 2 things. A vintage diamond Cartier bracelet, legit, not a replica, probably worth close to $200,000. A cashier's check. Dated 10 years ago. For $85,000. In my name. The manager handed me a notarized letter that came with it. Grandma had left instructions. The check was hers to me, to be used for independence if the family ever tried to pull you back into their orbit. She'd known. All along. This wasn't just money. It was validation. It was proof that someone had seen me when I was still invisible. That night, I sat on my sofa staring at that bracelet. I knew exactly what it was, a rare Cartier piece from a 1932 Paris collection. One of the few surviving in private hands. Brielle had posted a look-alike version on Instagram months ago, tagging it as Real vintage. It wasn't. This was. And the irony? This was the exact bracelet I'd spotted in her latest post, the one I said looked fake. Which meant. I leaned closer. No. It couldn't be. I zoomed in on her Instagram photo. And saw it, the same scratch on the clasp. The same hairline crack near the gem. She had it. She had Grandma's bracelet. Somehow, she had found the safety box before me. The thought landed like a punch to the gut. Brielle must have found the hidden panel, maybe during one of her visits to Grandma's house, maybe even after the funeral, and taken the contents without saying a word. Then lied. Posted it as her own. Which meant. That cashier's check? She didn't find it. She took what glittered and missed the actual treasure. And just like that, I knew what I had to do. I didn't text. I didn't call. Instead, I mailed Brielle a letter. Handwritten. Old school. Just a few lines. Hope the bracelet fits. Funny thing, Grandma left it to me. Along with a few other things you must have overlooked. No hard feelings. But next time you dig through someone's legacy, maybe learn what matters more, shiny things or the people who gave them to you. Then I added a PS. I'll be seeing you soon. Legally, of course. Because I wasn't just going to walk away. I contacted my attorney that afternoon. We reviewed the estate details, the safety deposit box documentation, and my notarized inheritance. Turns out, Grandma had filed the paperwork years ago. It was legally airtight. My lawyer's words were music to my ears. This qualifies as theft of inheritance property. The case we filed was clean. Civil court. No handcuffs, yet, but plenty of embarrassment. Brielle was served at her co-working space. I imagine the look on her face when she opened that envelope was worth at least $20,000 in therapy bills. She tried to act surprised, of course. Claimed she had no idea. The bracelet belonged to me. I found it in a drawer, she said in court. I thought it was just some old family piece no one wanted. The judge asked her one question. Did you not wonder why a Cartier bracelet was taped under the lining of an antique box next to a key? She stammered. I thought it was decorative. We settled before the trial finished. She returned the bracelet. Paid me $30,000 in damages, most of it likely borrowed from my parents. And just to twist the knife, I had her sign a public acknowledgement, a simple statement that she had taken the item without legal claim and apologized for the confusion. I posted it, quietly, on my company website under our Provenance and Trust section. No names. Just facts. Enough to let certain clients in the know connect the dots. I didn't stop there. Remember the $85,000 cashier's check? I used it to create something Grandma would have loved. The Lillian Foundation for Women in Art and Appraisal. We offer scholarships to low-income women entering fields like art history, jewelry authentication, or antiques restoration. Fully funded. Quietly powerful. And growing by the month. The first scholarship recipient? A 20-year-old first-gen college student who reminded me of myself at that age. She cried when we gave her the news. I cried later in my car. As for my family? The silence was beautiful. After the legal settlement, my parents stopped showing up. No more guilt trips. No more surprise office visits. I think the lawsuit scared them more than my bank balance ever did. And Brielle? She's rebranded. Deleted her business. Went back to her marketing job and hasn't posted about jewelry since. Her last public Instagram story was a black screen with the text, "Some people will ruin a family for money." She still doesn't get it. This wasn't about the money. It was about everything that came before it. The years I spent invisible while she sparkled under the spotlight. The stolen childhood, the twisted guilt, the way they made me believe that love had to be earned with silence. No more. My Sundays are now peaceful. No overcooked pot roast. No snide remarks. Just me, a good playlist, and the kind of quiet that doesn't hurt. Sometimes I wear the Cartier bracelet around the house. Not for show. For her. For Grandma Lillian. Because while the rest of them were busy looking for shiny things, she gave me something none of them ever could. Proof that I was worth seeing. And now? I shine on my own.